It's just down the street.
Yeah.
Last week, you know, it's all very.
Wes is the only one online right now.
Yeah.
Video.
This morning.
As I was wondering, yeah.
Left at 7.
Attention. That was French.
That was not.
Or was that Spanish?
It could be Italian too, it's very close.
I'm going.
All those
I'm
were
going.
mixed.
Okay. We got everybody here. Miss Tina, you ready? Okay, you're the last one to come in. We're a minute early. I apologize. But there's no reason to not begin.
Dilly Valley.
Correct.
Guess who's playing basketball tonight, right?
Tomorrow night.
UK,
Tomorrow night.
UK plays at 7
Tonight?
tonight.
Who they play?
UK's playing Vandy again. They beat us last time.
I
so
remember.
I told the boys, I said, cheer, turn on, start cheering. Bring home a victory.
Okay.
Let me take attendance.
I'll get us done by 7:15.
Mark, are you here?
I'm here.
Barb,
Here.
Tracy,
Yes.
Tina. Here. Tabitha.
Here.
April. Here. Amber.
Yes.
Okay, go
I
ahead.
was gonna say, we have Wes, one of our managers online, and Heather's here, and we are on YouTube Live, so there may be people watching now.
Okay.
Later.
Well, we're gonna, this evening, we're gonna start with the Records Commission meeting. We just had the roll call. Is there any public participation that we're aware of? I do not see any.
Yeah.
Then I need a motion to approve disposal of the records, which is gonna be your gray attachment.
Any questions? We've
Yep.
been working pretty hard on getting back through some old records.
Yeah, it's all like 95, 96.
That predates me, yeah.
All right, don't be
I
shy,
move
guys.
to approve disposal of records.
I'll second. Mark,
Yes,
Barb,
Yes.
Tracy.
Yes.
Tina. Yes. Tabitha.
Yes.
April. Yes. Amber.
Yes.
any other business for the Records Commission this evening? No? Our next meeting is gonna be 3 letters, TBD. That's gonna be our next meeting. And we are officially adjourned.
Does anyone want correspondence or announcements for the regular meeting? I will just, announcements,
Circulate.
there's correspondence.
Got it.
If I need more copies for anybody, just let me know and I will go and make them. So if we have a copier handy for that.
Okay, then we're gonna go ahead and move on to our regular meeting and our regular agenda, starting with the roll call.
Mark,
Yes,
Barb,
Here.
Tracy. Here. Tina. Here. Tabitha.
Here.
April. Here. Amber.
Yes.
okay. Any public participation?
Same as last meeting, we've got Wes and Heather as other staff members and we're on YouTube Live.
Okay. All right, number 3, we're gonna start with approval of the January 2020. Can I combine those or?
You can, and I just wanted to list them separately, so for audit purposes, they have an easier time seeing them.
Okay, so we'll go, I need an approval of the minutes for the January 2025 Records Commission meeting and the January 2025 regular board meeting.
I'll move. Have a second?
Mark,
Yes,
Barb,
Yes.
Tracy.
Yes.
Tina. Yes. Tabitha.
Yes.
April. Yes. Amber.
Yes.
okay, next we have Lynn with correspondence.
Okay, so public library fund came in strong in February. It was up a little over 5% over what was estimated. So that's a really nice way to be in the second month of the year here. We'll see what happens as we go along throughout the year. We did receive a couple of pieces of correspondence from patrons. One for Britt Elliott, who is one of Heather's staff members, thanking him for always helping me here at the library. I greatly appreciate it always. I don't know if there's a story behind this. Is tadpole? Yes, yeah, okay, well, there we go. And then as part of our strategic planning process, we're doing the stakeholder interviews. And one person who was interviewed actually followed up afterwards to let us know what she really values about the library. And I gave a little bit of a snippet here. It's the human connections. And she says, I'm not sure how many places you can go and receive this kind of personal service. And I think that I've said over the years that what sets us apart from any other library really is the kind of service that we get. So it's kind of nice to see that it's happening, right? It's working in some ways. We also got a message from the state librarian, the new state librarian, Mandy Knapp. And this was after the executive orders, the federal executive orders came out, and there had started to be concerns in libraries on a number of fronts. And it was a very reassuring because the state library relies pretty heavily upon federal funding. It's through IMLS, which is the Institute of Museum and Library Services. They are the ones who give the grant monies that are LSTA, Library Services and Technology Act. And so things that we have done in the past, and one grant that we've actually applied for Summer Reading Program now, have been funded through that. Things also like the digital library. Anybody around here use ebooks from the digital library? The databases, those kinds of things are all have some federal subsidies. So if that funding went away, we would all really feel it. So just to let you know, to recognize that that's the case, and to remind us what happens with federal funding through the state library system. But her recommendation was, number one, that the Institute of Museum and Library Services, their guidance to the state library was continue your operations as normal. And state librarian's message to all of us is keep up the excellent work that we do every day in serving our communities.
You know, that is the focus right now,
It
is government waste, fraud, abuse. You know, so that is a real concern.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna keep doing what we do excellently and letting people know about it. And then as far as other things going on, one of the things I want to make sure that you know about is that every year Ohio Library Council does provide training. It's focused on new trustees, but it's also a good refresher. And they have started offering it either as in person or online. And they're apparently doing it in 2 parts this year. Now, the only one I've seen is part 1, and that's actually going to take place on Saturday, March 8th from 10 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. The library will register you and pay for it if you wish, and you will have the option of either going to Columbus or Dublin, technically, to OLC's headquarters and participating there in person, or doing it online. So if you are interested, let me know and we'll get you registered and get you all the details. They also recently announced, and so recently that I didn't have it on my list here, is that April 24th is the Southwest Ohio Trustee Dinner. Now, they usually do regional dinners for trustees, and in state budget years, which we're in right now, they often bring a legislator who is reading from us and find out about what libraries do, or can provide us with information about what's going on in the legislature. So April 24th, I think that's a Thursday. And instead of it being a nighttime thing, they're doing a lunch for Southwest Ohio. It's going to be at the Midpoint Library in Westchester, so it's not horribly far away. We don't have information yet about registration, although probably they're going to populate it pretty soon and I can do it online. But if you're interested, let me know. I have not seen, at least here in what I got today, there was no specific time frame. But lunch, midday.
If I wanted to go and bring my husband, how would I pay for him?
You could just pay the library. We'll
Okay,
we'll
just
pay,
reimburse.
yeah.
I'll let you know.
Okay, absolutely. So there are a couple of things coming up. You also may have seen that Governor DeWine released his budget. That's usually what happens first. The governor does his budget presentation and, you know, not really surprising, very pro-education, pro-libraries, but it was great to see him recommend that public library fund be moved 0.05% upward from 1.7% of the general revenue fund to 1.75% of the general revenue fund. Now, it doesn't sound like a lot of money, but when you're talking about
Inflation.
hundreds of millions of dollars across the state, I mean, that's, you know, I haven't done the calculations to see what it might mean for us, but no, it's all good, that somebody is actually willing to put their money where their mouth is, but the caveat is, now, the House, I think, just released their House budget bill. And so that has to go through a lot. And they may pass it, but if the Senate doesn't accept it, then the Senate has to do their own, and then there's conference committee to get everybody to agree, you know, and essentially June 30th at 11:59 PM, you know, they're making a decision because July 1 is the start of the new budget. So lots of things to go that are happening. There is actually a schedule for contacting legislators. At this point, they're not having anyone outside of library directors do it, but that's kind of going to be coming up, I'm sure, when they will say, please get your trustees to contact your local legislators and all of that. You know, and I don't know really what it might mean for, the rest of us, but Lieutenant Governor Husted was appointed to fill J.D. Vance's seat at the federal level. And Jim Trussell has been nominated. I don't know, I haven't been paying attention to, you know, the hearings for that, whether he's been approved or not. But I would suspect because those are both short fill-in terms that we may not see too much impact at our level.
That's a Go Bucks, former Ohio State football coach.
Yeah. So there it is. The one last thing I want to let you know is that the US Government Accountability Office, so there actually was some accountability somewhere at the federal level, GAO, was actually, because they were told by Congress to do this, they were asked to do a review of library and museum facilities and the state of our facilities. And what they did was actually, they just did a random sampling nationwide of libraries to fill out a survey. And we were asked to tell them about Sardinia's library. So I used that opportunity to be very specific about that building, but to also offer more general information about buildings in our library system. So who knows how that will play out.
So for those of us that are in the customer service industry, my favorite part of this was the card and the email. Just because you don't see that much anymore. I'm sure everybody's familiar with the Amazon effect. Instant gratification. And if you're not hitting that, you know, so this is just really nice, Lynn, you know, to get the emails and the cards. You just don't see it as much as we used to.
It's good. And I don't remind them regularly, but I have asked the managers to make sure that they let me know when they receive these things so that we can pass it along to you.
Yeah, please, Heather. Yeah, those are huge.
Card is from the lady, and she comes in here probably once a week and needs computer help, and she always hunts down Britt.
Which is
Right.
you
It's
go
like,
with what
you
you're
got Britt,
comfortable
yeah.
with. Yeah.
But it still counts.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
And-
and he's patient with her, I think, is why she likes him.
Yeah, and please keep including those, because those are really, really nice. Okay, on to reports, financial report, Miss Sarah.
And start with everybody's favorites. Report.
Do you want me to try and share this on the screen or not? Let's see if it works any better than last time. Do the box. Oh dear, I don't know. This is where it went all funky last time. It's been.
Where it used to be.
Okay.
It was the teacher and the parent.
If you want to go ahead and.
I'll go really
see what I
slow.
can-
The appropriation summary report, what I'm looking at is that month-to-date expenditures right in the middle. The first page and a half-ish is the general fund. Salaries for, I'm comparing December to January, which I don't really like to overlap years, but we're going with it. Salaries, compared to December of 24 to January of 25, we were down, $9,447. It seems like a lot, but remember that first payroll in December, we paid out those retention rewards, so. Employee benefits up $2,295. Materials, we were down $13,009. That's to be expected. We don't pay out quite as much stuff in January. We're just getting the year rolling. And then purchase and contracted services also down $3,073. I'm gonna flip to the very last page of this report and give you a total, grand total out of all the funds. As we keep adding funds, this report is keeps getting bigger. So, the middle column, month-to-date expenditures, look all the way down. Our total month-to-date expenditures for January 2025 was $187,611.60. We did a transfer into the general fund. We're usually doing them out of the general fund. That was $50,184.59. That was approved last month. So you're gonna see the month-to-date expenditures of $187,000, but then a couple reports, you're gonna see $137,727. And that is the difference of moving the transfer. It works better when I'm transferring out of the general versus into the general. So I'll point that out when we get to it, but next report is the bank reconciliation reports. Receipts for January, $94,659.61. A couple of things for that was $88,973.17 for PLF. At the end of January, we had received a donation, several donations for Harold, in the amount of $420 and a Georgetown donation for $2,500. So, payments, $137,467.30. I had one small adjustment for $22.08. The Bureau of Workers' Comp sent me a little bit of money. So I had just adjusted, the true-up payment that I had made. You don't see that all the time. Outstanding payments, from January, I do have 3. The Fayetteville Perry Sewage District, we always pay one time a year, and they have not cashed that check, and every day I think I'm gonna call them. But
No one will answer the phone.
that's what I figured. I figured they probably just hold on to the checks and eventually I made sure I had the right address. Thank
I mean,
you
if
for
you get on the community chat, you see that, like, how in the world do you get a hold of the water people, the sewer people?
Okay, well, thanks for reiterating that. I'll just sit on that for a little bit. And, just a couple other checks that I feel confident those will clear, but that's the one I'm like, can you count that? Cash summary by fund. So this is the first time you're gonna see the expenditure different than what I had mentioned because of those transfers into the general fund. So this one says $137,427.01. But like I said, the difference is those transfers into the general fund. Cash, the next one is a general fund cash flow for 2025. So, yeah, it's a spreadsheet. So we're gonna look at that very first column where it says actual January. So, if you still have your reports from last month, we ended the year with $488,525.56. So that's where that cash balance comes from. It's just a continuation. And then, like I mentioned, PLF was $81,455.92. We received our first quarter payments from the law library. That was $7,517.25. Other receipts, which includes like fines and fees and things like that, that was $170.36. There's that advanced N. That was from the Georgetown Reno and the the LAL grant that we had last year. So, that was 50,184.59, bringing our total general revenue, $139,328.12. Salaries, $82,079.72. Employee benefits, $22,508.36. Library materials, $11,187.10. Other operating expenditures, $10,950.57, bringing our total general fund expenditures to $126,725.75. So, any questions about that report?
We can't, we're not allowed to do advancing, so was it advance or was it a grant?
It probably was a transfer
Okay,
in.
okay.
I need to change the
Okay,
verbiage. That's just the
okay.
verbiage
All
that's
right.
been on
I
that.
just want to make sure because I thought at some point we had that discussion with an auditor or
Yeah.
someone said we can't
I'll-
advance over a year, over the
Yeah,
fiscal
no,
year.
that was
Okay,
bad.
okay.
I'll change the verbiage, but that's
Okay.
just,
All right.
I'll make it a transfer. in.
I do have a quick question. So if I look at estimated February, I also see that same 50,000 under transfers in.
There's a running total at the very end of the report. Is that what?
No,
don't-
I see right,
At the
I
top.
think she's
February?
talking right there, so
Yeah.
looking at that same amount.
Oh, I wonder why that's there.
Yeah,
I'll take that off.
okay.
You're so good at catching yourself.
Yeah, that's perfect.
She's great.
Oh, you
Catching other
think, I
things.
think that's, thank you for catching that.
I just wanted to make sure.
I do so much.
Yeah, it's only
I-
once we learn.
In
Okay.
in January, I manipulate this.
Yeah.
report,
I figured
this-
since it was the exact cents.
Yes,
that-
yes. I'll remove it and I'll change the totals a little bit. Let's see, next one is another spreadsheet. It says January 2025 expenditure reconciliation. It's just kind of a breakdown of everything. Payments, $37,365.17. You'll see those two payrolls. The first one in January had a few more days, $43,034.73. The January 30th, $39,960.31. You'll see the board share OPERS, $11,619.31. Medicare board, $1,151.21. The health board, $7,433.75, and then you'll see those local taxes, they're negative until the end of the quarter, and then those will be positive. Health insurance out of pocket for the employees was $2,222.15. That transfer in, $50,184.59, bringing the total expenditures to $187,611.60. Payment listing, you'll notice right off the bat, that $22.08 from the Bureau of Workers' Comp, that was the adjustment that I had made. I don't think any checks or anything that I haven't made before. Any questions about the checks that went out? The payment?
Good amount or,
What's that?
uh,
Oh, the Village of
Adjustment.
Mount Orb, when I went, I cut the check, it should have been the Village of Sardinia. So I
oh,
voided it
okay,
out.
okay.
Yeah, that was a mistake.
I was gonna say, they didn't refund us anything, did they? Yeah, I didn't know.
It was my bad. I usually try to take those out of the report. Fund summary report. Just want to point out that second to last column, it says current reserve for encumbrance. That's our open PO, 65,819.17. I still have, less than $1,300 in POs from last year open. I have a Forward Edge, which I need to follow up with them. And then 2 Ingrams that I think will probably close, so.
I actually just got something from them for a small amount.
Okay.
It's in my inbox.
Okay, cool. It isn't that much, so that
Okay.
hopefully that might take care of that, so. We're definitely moving to close all those. Revenue status. Everything's a lot of zeros because it's the first one of the year, obviously, so. I added a few new revenues because we added a few new funds, so. Any questions?
Quick question on the payments for Duke, it's 1,200, is that all the library?
No. Every Duke bill's billed separately, so you'll see it.
I was like, that is really cheap because my Duke bill was $600 just for
Yeah.
my house, I'm like,
Why?
oh yeah.
I wouldn't be able to tell which branch that
Yeah,
is.
so-
Yeah, I was just like, that's really cheap if it was all of them.
Yeah, so Fayetteville is Duke and Fayetteville is all electric. Mount Orab is Duke, but Mount Orab has gas and electric.
Yeah,
Same with Georgetown actually goes to the utility company.
yeah, Georgetown
And
Utility.
and then Sardinia is
American
in
Electric.
APP
Okay.
territory, so.
Midwest tape for 8,000.
I saw that.
That's Alliance, that's.
Hoopla, like every 3 or 4 months, I send them an advance, so as people check out online, it takes away from that, so
Okay.
you'll see that
Hoopla
a
is
couple times.
Yeah, Hoopla is a pay per use, and so we
Yeah.
have to have a balance in the account, so as people are checking things out.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I didn't do that in December, because I wanted to start with fresh money, so.
Good question.
Any other questions on payments? I will tell you that Duke's bill for February, for Fayetteville was like crazy, like 1,600. And I
Our
figured,
home is
tis
all
the
electric,
season,
so we
yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
All right, if there's no other questions, I need a motion, please.
I will move.
Thank you, Tracy.
I will say that.
Mark,
Yes,
Clark. Yes. Tracy. Dina. Yes. Tabitha.
Yes.
April.
Yes.
Amber.
Yes.
all right, next item, the Georgetown Grant Fund was assigned to special fund number 2015 by the UAM. That's just an announcement.
It is just an announcement because when we set it up, we didn't have a number because it gets automatically assigned, and I just wanted for the record for you all to know that that's what it was assigned.
Okay, thank you, Lynn.
Mhm.
Next, we have the executive director's report, starting with the building report and statistics. And want to remind everybody, Heather's here in person, and we have Wes
Mhm. Yeah.
online.
And both of the managers that are participating tonight also sent pictures of some of their activities.
January is usually really slow for us.
That's exactly what I was gonna say, usually it's so not. but-
These pictures are from our STEAM team. I told Lynn earlier, so STEAM team was last night, so we were, Jesse scrambled trying to get everything cleaned up.
We got a DNA.
She tied it into, our Criminal Justice Academy, which is this weekend, so like yesterday, they did like fingerprint analysis and footprint analysis and DNA necklaces and, hair. It was really cool. And then, of course, we got those from the Brown County Educational Service Center, has a STEAMology library, where we can borrow like really cool things, and they like that the library's doing it because they can count it towards their numbers and all that. So we have the DNA models for them to play with.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
And they look very happy in the pictures.
Oh, they
I
do.
mean, my
Well,
gosh.
we had to add 2 groups because we have, like, it fills up, because I mean, this room is this big and we're trying to space everything out and have the program, so, we had like max 25 kids, and then it was filling up as soon as we put it out there, so.
Wow.
We had 2 yesterday.
That's fantastic.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. I know Ohio State has a STEAM band.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about bringing them down? I know they come to schools. I don't know if they would come to libraries, but,
We haven't contacted them, but we put it on the list.
Mhm.
well, yeah, I mean, I was at the state fair and they had it there.
Yeah.
And it is so cool. Like, the kids go on this bus and they have all these STEAM activities. And it's free, and they travel around the state, and it's paid by the extension office, in Ohio State, and they'll come anywhere.
That
So
that
it's
is
really
neat.
cool.
I think they're trying to bring that to the countywide, STEAM, little state STEAM,
In May.
in May.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was one of the things that we had listed.
You know, the one item on Wes's for Sardinia. I know sensory activities are huge right
Yes.
now, huge. Because you see Annette do that at the preschool with the kids.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was a thing, but it is.
It's a thing.
And it's a thing, and it's very
Mhm.
popular. Any questions for Heather, Wes, before we move on? Okey dokey, statistics.
All right. So January tends to be a slower month. I think we all want to stay hunkered down for the most part, and sometimes weather interferes. One of the things that I usually note, but forgot to put at the bottom of your, light pink sheet is I typically, I'll put down any closures that we have during the month. So as we're going back through, we were closed 2 days in January, so that might impact our overall numbers. This January, we were closed on the 6th of January, and we had a delayed opening on the 7th, so roughly a day and a half of closure. And, things are just, it's hard to tell, right? It's the beginning of the year. What I will say is that there is one item in the programs, about in the middle of the page, there's a virtual program that we did, during COVID. We did a lot of virtual programs, but this one was about the Underground Railroad. It has had a lot of views so far, but it was really nice to have a community member who is very tied into this field, do the actual video, and our staff, assisted with it, and I don't know if they did background, and Hannah helped edit.
She helped
Yeah, edit it, and then we posted it on our YouTube channel, so
So if you guys are like history, it's
Yes.
actually really
it
interesting.
is very interesting, yeah.
So does that mean that it was viewed or accessed 376 times,
Yeah.
which is more than the total for 2024 of 260?
That's
Wow.
crazy. That's a good start to the year.
It's a great start to the year, yeah. And I can't remember what date it went up, but so that was only part of the month of January that it was actually up, so.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, the other thing I just, I want to say, starting out, we talked a little bit about the impact of funding on electronic resources. So, in January, we circulated through Overdrive to the digital library over 4,000 items for our patrons. And our Hoopla have had over 1,100 uses in January, and that's that's almost double what used to be the average monthly amount of circulations.
That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
and even our Brain Fuse, which provides the homework help, the online homework help, where you can actually be live virtually with someone getting tutoring assistance, or you can submit, questions and get help with homework. That was really a big deal when we had our tutoring funding through the grant. And I expected maybe it to see it drop off some, but in January, there were 32 uses of the resources in that database, and there were 3 requests for homework help. So I'm glad to see that continue.
Yeah.
Can I quickly ask, with Hoopla, what are the different media formats that you are including?
So you mean music, movies? So I like to use it for music a lot. I don't know, Heather, there's binge watching now, there's binge, TV, like if you want to do a
Whole series or
season,
something?
Yeah, whole series.
They have a
season
season pass.
pass. is what
Season
it's
pass.
called, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
And you have like 7 days to watch the whole
Is-
season. And it's
is
actually,
Libby counted
it's
in that
cheaper
one
on the
too?
library if they
Is
do that
Libby
too.
counted
Oh,
in that
really?
one too?
Okay, I was
Yeah,
thinking that
Libby
might.
gets the
Does it
overall-
count
Okay.
as-
Yeah, it's like
yes,
$12.
it's in there.
It's in there
And
also,
then,
yeah.
like,
or is it
if
in a
they did
different
it by
spot, or is
It's
it,
in
episode,
the-
it's like,
does it count as the
it's like
overdrive /
$2
Hoopla?
episode.
Okay,
So it's like,
That's pretty cool.
That's good to know.
I've read my
So
first
what is like this? It's
audiobooks
like, yeah,
ever,
why not?
like,
yeah.
I've been redoing Jacoby's Room, and
And
I
they
use
just released
Libby. I found that
Dove.
I actually
podcasts,
paint
think,
faster
which
listening
they
to a
said the
book
Hallmark-
being
we just had a
read
really
to me
yearly
than I
thing
do
with
listening to
them,
music.
Yeah.
But
and he
I've never
said
done
that the
audiobooks,
Hallmark
and
bitch
some of
fest
them
is
had
really
some language,
popular.
though. I'm like, oh, painting, whoa. Because I mean, obviously, if I'm reading a book, it has language. It's a little bit different than just the character just shouting it right at them. It's like, oh.
And if you have your volume up loud,
It's really
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. I was like, oh, I
I'm-
just
it's
picked
in
the
the
ones
phone.
that the library, like, has the library suggestions or something. So I just picked like, the ones I've looked at, just like suggestions, so I've just done them, so I didn't really read about them
Well,
before
and
I
kids
select
club
them.
too, I like the kids
So
part.
it's like, I was like, oh,
He
there's
has
some
an
words
hour
in there.
drive, so he listened to him.
Shut.
Yeah, that.
Yep.
Like- Don't come
Any
in
other
here, boys.
questions about statistics or comments or?
Maybe we can move on to announcements.
Announcements, all right, announcements. So, we are, looking up, we've been talking about security in a lot of different ways over, the years. And so while we were doing our annual review with Forward Edge, which is our IT consulting group, they reminded us or introduced us, it's probably a reminder, Lynn had forgotten that they do this, that they actually do surveillance and security services as well. So we actually have scheduled on March 11th for them to come and assess our building for camera placement or anything else that they can potentially provide as a service to us. We talked about the goal being, we are not in a position to be implementing everything all at once in our library system, but that they are fully aware that the state has cybersecurity funding in various ways. So we're waiting for Brown County to be targeted as in one of those rounds. And so they're looking at this as a way to be shovel ready for funding, as well as potentially being able to do some things right away. So that's one of the things we're looking at.
I wonder if we get a discount on insurance for that.
I don't know about a discount, we might, but I've noticed a trend in the security, especially the cybersecurity, the questions that they ask when it comes time for renewal keep getting more and more in depth. Do you have a hand in that, Mark? But yeah, so I would suspect that we'll be able to meet benchmarks more easily. And as far as the risk management parts of it go, I would definitely say that will make sure that we've checked off boxes in that way.
Yeah.
But it's a good question,
Yeah, because there are discounts out there if you're safeguarding or protecting or going above.
Yeah, we'll have to ask about that.
Mhm.
Obviously, we're watching snow removal. We've had conversation at the manager level about making sure that snow removal services are being alerted. If it's not a big snow, like this morning, it wasn't necessarily everybody everywhere was getting something. And so if they haven't had treatment, that they know that they can reach out and contact to get our facilities treated for that. And then I've also reached out about lawn care and landscaping for next year. So we'll hopefully be ready for that at next month's meeting, because it'll be March. And maybe we can wave the snow goodbye. Community engagement reports, you got those in your packets. I will just make one comment now that I am officially done being on the Chamber's board. I probably will remove that from our list of regular, not that we're going to not be a member and not participate, because we need to be tied into our business community. But I think for the time being, I'd like to see us adding in Brown County's America 250. I haven't talked to Ashley yet, and if you get to it before I do, Heather, feel free. But there is a planning group to celebrate 250 years, and so we want to support that as a library system. Now, unfortunately, it's going to happen on July 1st, 2026, which is smack dab in the middle of summer reading program. 4th, I'm sorry, did I say 1st, 4th? And so it's going to really tax us, so we're going to be picky and choosy about what we can actually do. But we did talk about it at a manager meeting, and I think we'll probably heavily participate in helping to promote it by doing displays leading up to the actual event. So any questions about any of those things that we're doing with other organizations in our community?
Anything new with Grit?
With grid?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where do you begin?
So relative to us, Chatfield was purchased. One of the things that they're going to do is this summer, they're going to offer a child uh, child development associate training for free for like youth, so they can get a credential. It's like 9 to 5 for 4 weeks, I think. So they're working on that right now.
Is it like for babysitting or like being a nanny or?
Yeah, CDA, I think that people in Head Start are
Yes.
required or
Okay,
want
yes.
need to have it, yeah.
And people that wanna have like a in-home daycare, to be approved, I think they have to have that. What else? They're working on the summer programming, cause they do a lot of like workforce training and trying to get the youth. The youth that don't have a plan is really who they try to aim for. So Shawnee State, of course, is another, is doing it again this summer, but I think they're not doing as many summer programs as they have in the past. Like the last 3 years, they had a ton of different things that they could get credentials and stuff for. And I think this summer they're really going for the one that, like certified nursing aid, maybe,
The ones that have higher enrollment.
yeah. Because I'm pretty sure they probably need to cut the cost of it some. They had more funding the last few years. What else? They were doing, digital literacy classes at the remote work center in Sardinia. So, and it's the teacher from Eastern,
Sarah Gillette.
maybe, so nice. And she works with Southern Hills,
I
maybe,
think so,
yeah. So she's gonna be the teacher for that,
Oh, cool.
and she'll be amazing.
Yeah, she is great for this one.
So,
Yeah, I think one of the big things was, you know, in the county level, we were trying to help. The organization was trying to make sure all the schools were fully committed and involved in getting students assessed, and I think that still is slow going.
I think, I talked to, like, I think what happens is like the counselor at the school becomes more of an emotional counselor instead of a guidance counselor, getting the kids where they need to go. There's just so much other issues, like, with the students, like it's so more complex these days on some of these children. And so I feel like some of that goes by the wayside. The kids kind of, if they're doing okay in school, but really don't have the guidance and they're really not causing any issues, there's like really no direction for them. And I wish that more people would step in and help with that.
so,
I think they decided to do. the assessments.
there might be some,
Yes.
at Fayetteville that's doing like the assessments. But the, OSU tried to step up, the OSU Extension Office tried to step up, and they wanted to do like, they had the leads, for
Yes.
adults, which is like leadership. They wanted to do a leadership program for youth, and they would go to the schools and they would do it. And they wanted to target not the best kids, but the next kids that they could, that fall in those cracks, that's kind of in the middle, that nobody pays any attention to, because they're like, oh, they're fine. That's who they wanted to target.
Nice.
But getting buy-in, I think Fayetteville might be one of the ones that they're going to try to come in and do some programming. Ripley maybe. So, I mean, they're just trying to get in wherever somebody will let them in. And I think mostly it's been ag programs it's kind of where they're getting their foot in the door. So they can at least get some kind of information to share with the rest of the schools and say, this is what we were able to do with these students.
And this is through the CTC?
This is the
OSU.
OSU Extension Office.
And there's no cost to the schools.
I think the biggest hurdle has been the time, it takes time away from classroom instruction. It has to be done somewhere at some time, and so I think that's been a big thing. That's another, I won't say unfunded mandate, but time is money. It really is, so.
I wanted to mention for Fayetteville's building report, they mentioned that the Friends Group is gonna be a beneficiary
Yeah.
for the Party with a Purpose.
Yeah.
Those are my cousins that founded it, the Pinkertons and the Holdens. I did not pander for them to give to Fayetteville, I promise, I promise. But if you wanna support it, the tickets for that party go on sale this weekend on Saturday, so.
Very good.
Because that's brought in some good
Well,
stuff for us. Yeah.
the academies that Mount Orb is doing, so they actually gave directly to the library, and it was a $10,000 grant that one time, so yeah.
Mhm.
They do amazing things.
Oh, it's grown so much.
Yes, yeah, it has.
This is the 17th year.
I was gonna say, I
Wow.
remember it many years ago, and it was not nearly as,
No.
yeah.
When I went to get the check last year, they had like their little kind of award and she talked about the background and the history and I was like, man, that is amazing.
Mhm. Yeah. My uncle Emery, their father passed away from cancer, and then they started the next year to do this Party with a Purpose. Then it was called, their last name's Holden, and it was Holding Out for a Cure. And it was just for cancer research, and then it got so big, they thought, well, we can spread the love a little more and branched
very
out.
cool.
They really
Yeah,
did.
Party with a Purpose. Mhm.
Other things on your announcements, just, other funding, E-rates in full swing. We've got, applications in process. We're gonna, over the next 6 weeks, we'll be doing contracts with vendors so we can get subsidies on our internet. They are now doing hotspots, so, our consultant is filing those forms so we can get all of the hotspot services reimbursed as well, and that's a big chunk of money that we spend on that. And then some equipment as well. Although E-rate does not fund all the equipment, it will not buy end user devices like we've got. So we have to pick and choose, what we can get with that. But in addition to the Party with a Purpose, which I didn't list here because it was a Friends thing specifically, so I'm glad you brought that up. United Way, because on your community engagement activity, the last one that's on the list is Success by Six, because we participate in that regularly and are constantly showing our partners what we're doing. United Way offered us a mini grant to help support our early literacy kits for another season. So starting the fall through next spring, we'll have money to subsidize those literacy kits. And then we did apply, actually Heather did the yeoman's work on this one, an LSTA mini grant to help support summer reading. When we had our Libraries Accelerating Learning grant, we had written in outreach to congregate housing, because kids who don't have transportation to get to summer reading program really miss out. So this would underwrite us to be able to go and take actually to more places. And we were also wanting to include, because Lorelei doesn't have any of that real kind of congregate apartment housing in a big way. We thought we'd take it to the lake if we can make those contacts. So, and then we got a staffing service coming up, and then I just wanted to talk a little bit more about the federal executive orders. I mentioned this a little bit in terms of the state library. One of the things that one of the orders, one of the many that came out, was about diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. Now, we don't have one of those programs in a formal way here, but the bigger picture is that those kinds of things, when you look at the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission and the law, the programs have actually swung far enough away to become illegal in some ways. And so the fallout from what came down from the executive order is that they're seeing that there are a lot of conflict with law. So things like right now, the executive order, any affirmative action language has to be removed because that discriminates in a different direction. That's what this executive order is declaring. Also, because of the executive orders that focused on immigration, there's been concern about law enforcement showing up at public libraries, because of potential things, and we have been reassured by Ohio Library Council that as of about 10 days ago, when I was on a call with other library directors, no libraries in Ohio have had any law enforcement going into their buildings trying to do anything about immigration. But we were just counseled by them to follow the usual procedures. If law enforcement comes in, they have to have a court order in order to do something with anything in public libraries. And so we have a protocol that we will follow, and I've not heard nothing's gotten to me from management team at this point that we've had any concern on site about any of this kind of thing, but I want you to know I'm paying attention. Ohio Library Council is paying attention and giving us guidance. And so I don't want us to drag our feet in making some of these changes that may have implications for our policies. But we also have seen how quickly things have been stayed or reversed. And so we're not going to jump into anything until we've had enough legal guidance to actually make policy changes.
But that's good, Lynn, because they're not focusing on Ohio right now. So
We have a little time.
yeah, we have some time. We're focusing on other states.
So there's that. I think that's all I got.
Okay, thank you, Lynn. On to committee reports. Do we have any committee reports? Nope. Okay, check. Number 6, strategic planning, and I believe Annette, let me try again. Lynn. Oops. You know what? That's not the first time I've done that.
May not.
That's not. Okay. Lynn provided, yes.
We have a timeline.
Yes.
This is actually something that our consultant provided to us, and I did a little bit of updating for it, just so that we start thinking about it as we're heading towards our board retreat, and also as we're starting to work our way through other parts of the strategic planning process. So I tried to do a little color coding just to, help you not have to focus on the things necessarily that we've already accomplished, right, in the gray. The green are things that are currently ongoing. Our staff development, our strategic planning team, a team of staff members, have been working very hard on conducting stakeholder interviews. And they should be completing those at the end of this month. And then our consultant just ran some draft questions for the survey that's going to go out more widespread. And so he'll finalize that and provide us with QR codes, and we'll probably something to put on the website and send out to social media. And we'll have paper at the desk as well if people want to do it in paper, just so that we can do a farther reach in gathering information about the future of our library.
Quick question.
Yeah.
So all of that is marketing to people that are using the libraries, right? Like, that would be on our social media, liking the pages.
Yeah, I think a good part of it would be, yeah.
So how do we reach people that don't go to the library?
I think that the whole plan, the whole goal of this part of it is to really get the people who do use the
Okay.
library.
So that is the target audience.
It is,
Okay.
not so much the who doesn't. I mean,
Right.
that's a whole nother survey all of its own, and a whole different way of
Yeah.
looking at it.
I mean, I don't want to change anything, but it would be interesting to get feedback.
I don't.
Why do you not come to the library?
I absolutely wish that we had more money and more time, and, and maybe that's the next thing as the follow-up after we get through with this part of it, is to be able to say, okay, it's worth our time and another whatever, $5,000 to do focus groups and, and find those people who do not use the library and figure out why, and whether that would have an impact or what kind of impact that would have on what our future looks like going forward.
That would be fascinating,
Yeah.
yeah.
And you could also use that as part of your marketing plan, once the strategic plan comes out, right? To markets, have marketing collateral specific to people that aren't typical customers.
Yes.
In order to gain a wider audience.
Yeah.
And you know what's fascinating too, Tina, is, the current climate in the country would probably be a driving force
Mm.
on some of the responses
Mhm.
on why they don't come to the library.
That's a good point, yeah.
You know that? And that, if times were normal, I would love to find out why, people weren't. I think we probably know why a lot of people aren't going to the library current day.
Yeah.
But I wish we could get that. That would be super cool.
Well, and ideally, we are to serve everyone.
Yes.
Right? And so how do we find this? There are going to be a percentage of people who, it doesn't matter what we did, they would feel that they don't have need for us or whatever, but I know that there is a percentage of people that we're just not reaching and
I
could be
think-
as helpful.
I don't wanna cut you off,
No,
but
go
I
ahead.
think there are still a lot of people who perceive the library, we've talked about this before, perceive the library as just a stuffy place. You just go to do research or get books. They have, there's so many people, and again, I see this just at the schools. I mean, I've told you guys, I have so many kids that don't even realize there's a library in Mount Orb. How do you not know there's a library in Mount Orb and go to school right down the road from it? But I think a lot of them, that's still the perception of the library and they see no need for it. I don't have to do research. I don't like to read books. Why do I need to set foot in the library?
Yeah.
And I mean, that's just kind of what I think from what I see and have seen for years, not even with the culture, not really even what's going on right now. I mean, this has been for years, just teaching, because I've had that question for years as a language arts teacher, like, you've never been to our library? No, I couldn't even know there was a library, and they still don't. That's what I told Heather. I mean, I would love to bus every kid at Mount Orb up here. Let them see what the library is. Let them take
Yeah.
home a library card application and come up here and be able to check out a book and.
Well, I have book
You know?
club at the middle school, that
Mhm,
I've done it forever, it feels like, and I
Yeah.
have the fifth graders, so this is their first year at the middle school.
Yeah.
And every year we have to get at least half of those kids a library card
Yeah.
because they've never been to the library. But
Yeah.
they're in book club because they like to read, and I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
free books.
Yeah.
Hey, Heather, how about we promote, I've never been to the library day. And we invite all those people that have never stepped foot in a library before. And maybe we give away, what are those bookmarkers? What are those things you put in books to mark your spot? But that, I mean, that is, kind of a neat idea.
I love it.
And you promote it and, hey, if you come in and you've never been in a library before, we'll have a application set for you, you get a free bookmark, you get a hug from Heather, something like that.
Make them run.
The question survey and drawing enters you for a prize drawing for the whatever.
It was a gift card.
But I was just thinking too, like, I'm reading Escape from Mr. Limoncello's library right now. It's my elective class, and I was like, how cool would that be if I could bring like even just my elective class up here for a day and let them find some of the books that are in that book, let them look up the titles or, let them do a scavenger, something.
Did
They're
I
up
do
here.
that when you were doing book club? Okay,
Mhm.
so, and I did
Yeah.
a little scavenger hunt bookmark with those kids and I had 3 kids do it. They
But-
came to the library.
Yeah,
and
but
did
think
it.
if we could bust my whole class up here, right?
Well, I will.
Huh? It's a little too cold right now.
So,
Yeah.
Georgetown, the principal at Georgetown is doing that with all the students. Cox, Mr. Cox,
Mhm.
Taylor, I think they go every benefit suites, and they are busing them to the library. They're getting kids cards.
I
They
can-
are having them check things out.
I just can't figure out why we aren't. I mean, we're such a big part of like the Dolly Parton Imagination Library with Gina and Allison and I mean, all of them. I don't know why nobody's like push that, like, and again, I don't know the perfect age. I don't know if it'd be like fourth grade, third grade. I don't know what age would be the perfect, or fifth grade is middle, I don't know.
I think they're doing it with the high school students in Georgetown.
But I think it needs to start young,
Young, it
so they see, and
Yeah.
again, I mean, we do have a lot of kids that come, we know all
Yeah.
those programs,
Yeah.
but again, why do I have so many sixth graders that don't even know there's a library here?
No, I'll go out on a limb
Right,
here.
no.
I don't think it gets any more American than growing up or participating in a library. That's America.
I love to go in the library and I was.
Same here,
Some of my
same here.
favorite memories
Even as
were in the
Yes.
library.
Mhm.
Mhm.
That, yeah, so.
I have a recommendation.
Okay,
Don't laugh at me.
I'll
Promise.
laugh with you.
Okay, I really think that in a community like this where we have people that come and then we've got so many people that don't, that we need a bookmobile.
I know.
We need a
Actually,
I've said
bookmobile.
that for, yes, years. It's
So
really amazing.
one of
You
the
can even take like an old school bus and convert it. So like if the school district was, you know, had one that wasn't in great shape. A friend of mine who is a school librarian in Princeton, she and one other teacher put together a grant and the district donated one of their older buses because it doesn't have to go fast and it doesn't have to go far. And they completely build a checkout place and shelves and
Who doesn't have childhood memories of a bookmobile?
I do.
That is my first library.
So
Yeah.
one of my stakeholder interviews, that was one of their things, like top 5 wishes is that we had a mobile library that could go out to events and go out to places for.
How's that work for auto insurance and liability?
Well, it's not driving with the kids.
That's a whole separate conversation.
Yes,
It's not
it is.
rolling with the kids in it.
Well, but,
At least you hope.
I will say, plenty of other people do it.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm sure who we're with would put together a package for
It's
us.
standard.
Yeah.
No, it would be nice to have something that particularly could go and do more to those who are homebound, you know, do that kind of outreach as well as to regular trips to
Veterans
the
home.
congregate.
And in
Okay.
remote areas.
Yes, and remote areas, yes.
Lynn, do you
Yeah.
know when the state of Ohio stopped doing the bookmobile in this area?
We stopped doing it in about the year 2000 because we opened up the branches in the areas where there were being stops. And so the idea was, we've got local facilities, and so we are not going to pay for the service to those same places that are just 4/10 of a mile down the road from where the stop was. So that was the thought. So that
Is
was.
there, when it was happening, was it part of a larger like statewide program or was it
Yeah.
part of Brown County?
No, so south, it's now, SEO serving every
Mhm.
Ohio,
Yeah.
you know, that whole, and the Southwest Bookmobile Center was in
St.
nothing.
Martin,
Yeah,
I
in
worked
St. Martin,
there.
you worked there, yes.
Yeah.
So that was a hub, but that's, you know, it's part of the state library, and that's who we paid. Was the state, we
Okay.
paid them for service wherever they were stopping for us.
So if we wanted to do something, I'm just dreaming you, local. And we could raise money to get and configure something on our own and pay for insurance for whatever as part of it ourselves. And use staff people to drive it around every once in a while. Would that be possible or does it have to go through SEO?
Oh, no, if we want, the libraries all over have their own bookmobiles, they
Okay.
keep them up, they have, however they do their maintenance, it's, yeah.
It is a
And
fantasy
you
job.
know,
Yeah.
Tracy James,
I think that would be so fun.
Well, we need some more staff in order to be able to do that on a regular basis, so.
and insurance, the insurance rates would be based upon how often you go out.
Okay.
You know, that's what, I mean, if you're doing twice a week, once a week, is gonna be a lot different than we're out every day.
Yeah.
So that may come into play.
I would say this, that, you know, we are working this strategic planning process, right? And so as the stakeholder interviews are being done and the survey that will be rolled out for the entire month of March is going to be done. And then our consultant will take all of this data and all the data he's gathered from other places and put together what he calls this exploration book, that first yellow line on your timeline, which is what the board will use at its retreat to help decide on what are the priorities for our strategic plan. And so
Like, for example,
It's very
outreach could be something
It-
that
it
would,
could absolutely.
rise to the surface.
yeah, and then I would say that bookmobile may be one of those strategies that helps us to meet the outreach goal.
I understand what you're saying,
Yeah, it may be a way that we do that bigger.
It's
thing.
another way to reach the community.
Yes,
You know, we have several options on doing that. This would be another
Another.
option. And would also increase the numbers, the outreach and
and,
what visually,
Mhm.
image, et cetera.
Yeah.
Just
Okay,
throwing this out here, just an idea. I know we're belaboring the point, but when you were talking about the bus, like I'm big into marketing. Like I could see like a mascot for the library for the kids programs. And it could be like a dog and we could call him Brownie.
The Chamber of Commerce has Brownie Bear.
Okay.
Oh,
how
Well,
about brownie rattlesnake?
Yeah,
That would be cute.
Zipper the raccoon, we have Zipper.
Something that kids would be drawn to, like it would differentiate that segment audience, right? Because we have distinct, I know we'll talk about this strategic planning, but there's distinct audiences, right? There's the kids and then the parents or the guardians of those kids and then people that don't come to the library and faithful. But like for the kids, like having something to rally around, like I could just see this dog painted on the bus, you know, and just, you know, and if you get a library card and you're a kid, you get a little stuffed animal. So,
Listen, Brownie.
well, we can't do brownies.
Is a stuffed raccoon and the
Or
kids are
the
obsessed with that.
oh, just give them a brownie.
Maybe we should just get
It is
a
a
real
thing,
one.
yes.
How about a real one?
She
Oh, yeah.
has to come out with her basket.
So, yeah,
And they
I mean,
talk to them like
there
they
are
will.
lots of,
I believe it.
there are lots of
Yeah,
things that can come of
that's
this,
huge.
and I see all of these as possible strategies for reaching whatever our big goals
Yeah.
are. So all of this information, the survey data, all of that will be presented to you. And then, you know, I think that we had two goals of the board retreat was so that we could finalize a refresh on our mission statement. And then also, you know, setting those main priorities, which will be the foundational, pieces of our strategic plan. And then after that is when our consultant will, you know, work with our staff team in figuring out how to turn those priorities into actual activities.
Wow, that's so cool.
So,
We're like halfway through this process, sort of. What is the general feeling about how it's going?
that's a little bit hard to say because we did a lot in the fall and then we kind of had this break over the winter. Now we're back into this interviewing. I don't know, any direct feedback from either of the people on your
It's, sometimes it's hard, like getting the time set up with the stakeholders. Like, you would think. I would, if somebody asked me, I'd be like, sure, let's set this time. But some of them, like one Don Cheryl said earlier, was just like, I don't have time to commit to this. And it's like 10 minutes. It's like, oh, 10 minutes. Cause Dawn gave her like days and she said she gave her opposite days. And then she was like, or we could just talk on the phone. And she's like, I've got so many commitments. It's like, I can't add that to it. And I'm like, well.
Okay, we'll go to the next
We'll
one.
go to the next person.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, no problem. But I think that the staff, it's a different experience. It stretches some of them. I think it's invigorating to others, that they're getting to do this as part of their jobs, and I think they're learning some things, you know, because not all of our staff have the same experiences every day, and so I think that, you know, I think that they're beginning to get ideas about what we could do in the future, and, I'm hoping that that will stimulate their input as well.
Well, it forces you to think.
Hey Wes, you're on here and you're on the team. Have you had anything that's kind of stood out?
No,
No, he did unmute,
But I
but we
don't
don't
hear
hear
it.
anything. Yes, is it the TV? I have the owl as the, speaker. Owl is the speaker. Let's see if we can turn up the. Yeah, that's the TV's remote. You could try that and see if it's the TV, but it shouldn't be. I'm looking for our. Up and down on the bottom, maybe, and up and down.
Minus
Plus and
there.
minus
ahead.
for the,
Anything?
yeah.
Right now.
Oh,
Well-
wait, is that a mute button right there?
Okay, it's unmuted. Yeah, let me just go ahead and see that. Some of the same as what you have experienced, but a number of folks are happy that we are reaching out to for their input.
Okay,
So,
that's good. Thank you, Wes.
thanks. All right. So yeah, so we've got the timeline, and then just make sure that April 12th is on your calendars, for the retreat, 8:30 to 1. I do not have any other details for you at this point. We will have refreshments and drinks.
Sarah and I, we just got notification that our boys that just like tied for first with academic team, they just put their tournament that day. So
I
just
think-
got the notification. My husband is already out of town in Oklahoma, like from Wednesday on, so I knew that was gonna be a scheduling, cause I would just take Jacoby to my mom's, but now we have that to do.
And our boys are the best ones.
Yeah. Okay, so we would have to go later because we all, you know, knew that it was going to be, we couldn't do it earlier. Was there a date farther out? I think we'd said maybe the last weekend of April, or had we gone into May?
Is that your wedding?
Yeah, the wedding's May 17th.
Oh. And their prom, Western Brown prom is the 26th.
April 26th is Western Brown Prom.
April 19th.
April 19th? Anyone?
Is Easter weekend,
It is Easter weekend.
so I don't, it might
But
be
what
like a
screams
break.
Easter other than a
Oh,
library?
I
board
mean.
retreat?
Somebody might scream.
There are a couple other dates. Did anybody write them down?
I don't have them on the sheet that I've got.
If we wouldn't have gotten first place, the tournament would have been this weekend.
I think we'd said maybe May 24th, but that's not, it was Memorial Day weekend, so it must have been the 31st, did we say?
That was it.
I mean, we're looking that much farther out if we don't do it on the 12th of April.
Well, we have to do May 31st.
May 31st, so I'll get back with Andrew about,
I don't know if I can do that.
okay.
I will try to figure it out.
The alternative is not doing it on a Saturday and deciding that you can do,
Afterward.
you know, 4.5 hours some other day. Yeah,
Like
no.
a Friday afternoon?
Oh, no, midweek,
Oh.
so that Friday is still a fun day.
Are you
I
counting
would
on this
be
not
out.
being
I would
fun,
object
Tracy?
to
Like, is she
that.
counting on this not
I'd
being
rather
fun?
do that than.
You know, if you,
Me too.
you said.
Yeah, I could-
I'm okay with the Friday,
Random Wednesday, that would be.
And Friday morning and just-
yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you know, doing it on board meeting Well, here's the problem and, well, challenge is that the strategic planning team has to meet with Andrew the day before the board retreat to get all data together and all of that. So I have to have 2 days in a row, which is not, out of the question. But if we were looking at it, it'd be April 16th if we wanted to do it on the board meeting or May 21st, and if there was any way we could start earlier, like at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, I can't at 4.
That's my
I can
last
cut
day of
out early.
school.
I'll just-
our spring
I'll just
break starts
Start
on
early and
the
leave early.
Thursday, the
I can work 7 to 3 instead of 8 to 4.
Oh,
Okay.
no, I thought we were in April still.
The
I thought she
earliest
went
I
back to
could do
April.
would be 4:30,
4:30.
because I'm required to work 8 to 4:30.
Okay,
We only get the prac, we only get Thursday and Friday.
well, 5 to 9:30. Yeah, I mean, it's
So
just
it's not even really worth it.
Right, yeah, I mean, I'm open to that, sure.
The next meeting, could we do 4:30 to 9? And then just order in dinner?
Well, we would definitely order in dinner. We would make sure we had that. But I think that was if you have to work until 4:30,
Yeah.
you're not gonna get here till 5.
Unless we're at Mount Orb,
Right.
because I have a minute and a half drive.
4:35.
Yeah, so,
Could we do it here?
probably we could do it here, but we'd have to do it on a Wednesday and,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's what I'm saying, in lieu of the board, in lieu of our meeting
okay.
next month.
I would be late, but I would be here eventually, so I don't finish school till 4,
And you're on the other side of the world.
a little bit.
We would definitely have food. It wouldn't be in at the March meeting, we'd be looking at doing it the April.
Yeah.
Which would be the 16th.
Which would just be a couple of days after our original.
That's true.
And I'm off school the next day, so I can stay up as late as I need to at this
Oh.
board retreat. Pulling all nighter,
What are you
guys.
thinking about? Getting a bunch of staff on Tuesday afternoon. Doable, I mean,
I mean, we got time in advance.
April 12th, Saturday, April 12th was the original.
Right.
I'm
but
gonna have to
what-
check with Andrew to see if he can do it.
Well, the way that it falls.
April 17th.
So let me ask this, if Andrew is not available on the 15th and 16th of April, what other days? Could we do April 22nd and 23rd?
Sure.
Or it would be the
Yeah.
23rd, you'd be, do the Wednesday night,
Yeah.
but just the next week,
Yeah.
just in case he,
Okay.
So either the 16th or the
or the
23rd.
23rd,
Okay.
yeah. I just wanna have an alternate for him and not knowing what his schedule is.
And we're talking starting at,
I would say 5.
Yeah.
And that means we're gonna be here till 9:30,
do it.
Well,
and we'll have dinner, we'll have food, so.
yeah, but Lynn, Tracy, if you remember our early days on the board, we were here
We
till
had-
9:30, 10:30,
We had some late,
until that Mark Miller took over, and then he was done at 7:30, 8 o'clock.
so
No, it was bad. I mean, it was bad. Lynn actually lied to me and said the meetings were only 2 hours. And then what would?
Well, you're pushing the limit now, but I'm moving this moving along.
But you need to hit that gavel. and-
Okay, all right, let's focus back.
So, all right, so I've got some.
Kentucky.
It's okay, honestly, the game is fine.
All right, so I will go back to Andrew with the potential time change.
Okay. so
Sorry,
good on
guys.
that part.
Sorry about that, sorry.
All right, next on the agenda item is the article Lynn printed for censorship.
Yeah,
Which is-
we had let that kind of go off for a while since things quieted down. But of course, earlier in January, at the federal level, there was talk of book bans being hoaxes and, things just, there's stuff going on in other places, although it's been pretty quiet in Ohio. So I just wanted you to know, that in Idaho, yes, there's, there's a lawsuit because they actually passed a law, banning, things that had, forbids anyone under 18 from accessing library books that contain sexual content regardless of the work's literary or educational merit. And so, they're not talking about racy novels, they're talking also about nonfiction works that have sexual content. So think about health education, everybody. And so publishers, authors, library, teachers, parents, students all went together in this lawsuit, but it's still out there, it's real, just thought it was time to let y'all be aware that, again, that
Bring it on the
it
sadness.
may be, it may become another hot button issue for a while. I mean, there are plenty of other things to be talking about right now, but it's still out there.
And they named the two biggies. I mean, my goodness. Game of Thrones,
Yeah.
Well,
Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I think
Well,
it's funny.
but Judy Blume's forever.
And,
Forever
yeah.
has been
so
on
that was
this.
like how I learned about anything.
Exactly,
Because other people
Wouldn't
didn't wanna
tell you.
talk about it.
exactly. That's what people are afraid
Oh my gosh.
of. I know.
Can you imagine being 12 years old and a girl and nobody ever talked to you about anything?
Anything? Mm-hmm.
My
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Okay, number 8, motion to approve the disposal of property, which is gonna be your, what, lightning rod, or what do you call
Like,
this,
yeah,
gold
this
rod?
is, no, this is just yellow.
Yellow. So I need a motion.
I'll second.
Mark,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Tracy,
Yes.
Tina,
Yes.
Tabitha.
Yes.
April.
Yes.
Amber.
Yes.
Okay, number 9, I need a motion to approve the replacement of the front door at Georgetown at a cost not to exceed 15,000. And it's your chartreuse color.
15,000?
Yeah, you,
Wow.
oh, I was thinking it was gonna be about. 20.
Yeah,
So,
they're not cheap.
About,
I mean,
No.
one door is just all blocked off. You
Yeah.
can't use it at all.
Yeah.
Well, they have to just take the whole frame out and put in a new, okay.
yes,
Okay.
so
That's
we-
like half of my car. Well, half of a car. I need a car.
we got, 3 quotes, I didn't put any company names on it, but essentially wanted to summarize as best I could for you, the comparisons, right? So all these companies quoted a single door, just a single door, or a double door, which is what we have now. And I believe our preference would still be to have a double door because we often need that extra space for them to be able to be open. This is our main entrance. They all quoted a typical 1/4-inch glass, which is what's there now. Another company actually quoted a higher end, more secure, and I think environmental control, especially as I'm thinking about how the sun beats down on that front entrance and needing that. But I had some questions as I began going through, the proposals themselves are kind of all over the place. One of them said something with actually a full contract and drawings, and another one's got just a list of all the line items of the work they'll do and the costs, and so they're not really apples to apples. And I have some questions to ask of them, because one of the things that's really important to me is that we put this in and the new door has the ability to do keyless entry, right? So it can easily switch from the kind of manual lock system we have now to an electronic retraction feature or whatever. Only one of them specifically stated that, so I need to go back to them and figure and get some more information. I'd like to be able to do that pretty quickly, like before the next board meeting, and so that's why I'm asking for a maximum amount. If you feel, based upon what I've listed here, because right now, the highest end quote is $13,000, right? And I'm asking you to approve up to 15,000 to give me a little wiggle room if I need some tweaking and go with that one. But all of these companies, either we have used or come very highly recommended by other partners that we work with and have had them do work. So I feel pretty comfortable about ability. But you know, I really want to go, this is not we're gonna replace it again in 5 years. You know, we want to make sure we get something that's going to last. So warranty is one of the questions that did not appear in some of the documentation and the retraction. Any other questions anybody thinks I should ask about
Drawings overkill.
drawings overkill?
They're gonna charge you for the drawings.
Okay.
Why do you need a drawing of a door? You know, that's not typical is what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's not what you typically see.
Mhm.
Cute, you know, but they're charging us for that drawing when you don't need a drawing. So that's a great question to ask.
Okay.
You know, why are you including a drawing and why are you charging us for a drawing? What is the purpose of that? It's a stinking door.
Well, we have the drawing and we haven't paid anything, right? You have drawings already?
Yeah, it was part of the quote. It was
Yeah.
part
Oh,
of
it
the
was part of the
proposal.
quote.
Oh, yeah, no, it was part of the, here's what the single door looks like and the
Oh,
dimensions.
It
and-
sounded like they were going to provide
Oh,
drawings
oh,
for you to
no.
Like
approve.
an
No.
architectural
Right,
drawing.
right,
Yeah.
right, that's what I thought, my
You
bad.
know,
Lynn.
essentially where the handle's gonna be, where
Okay.
the, you know, it's, yeah.
Okay,
And just to kind of put this in perspective of, pricing, like just the one little unit that we had out here on our door was 1,500, 2,000.
I think it was about 2,000.
2,000 to replace that, cause my hydraulic, it just busted, and it was hydraulic fluid and all that stuff, it was $2,000 to replace that unit.
yeah, we knew it was gonna be expensive.
Well, and that's part of the cost too, because they have to have the handicap access, yeah, so
Okay.
there's that whole piece of it as well as the
Got it.
security issue and, yeah.
We need a motion.
I'll move.
Hold on, I have a question.
Okay.
So I feel like every month we're putting money into Georgetown. Like, there's just a lot of stuff. It's an older building.
It's 100 years old.
It's a Carnegie building.
So is
Carnegie
it,
style.
is it listed as a historical property? Is there any way we could do that to help get some of this funding?
Doesn't that mean though that you can't make changes?
Yeah, I mean, it
That
does.
locks you down.
The society has to approve, right? National
Yeah.
Historical Society would have to
It
approve.
limits you what you can do, but I feel like, I hate to say this terminology, but is this a money pit? Like, one thing gets fixed, we spend $20,000 and then now we're spending 13. Like, what's the long-term investment? Like, what's the long-term vision for Georgetown?
I think,
Instead of
again, I
patchwork
think
quilting.
this is part of what may
Yeah.
come out in the rest of the
Okay.
strategic planning process.
Okay,
Right now, we don't have a choice.
Yeah.
We have to replace a door.
yeah.
We're driving a Chevy Cruze, a 2015 Chevy Cruze with over 100,000 miles.
200,000.
200, well, you're just
Yeah.
gonna keep, you know, that's just the way it is, you know?
Especially since all of the money that was spent to fix after the flood,
That was insurance paid.
all of it?
Not all of it, but
Okay.
the majority of it was paid by insurance. It was over 100 grand.
It was over.
Yeah, it was a lot.
It was.
I mean, I know we're not a for-profit business, but like, what's its return on investment? Like, at what point do we start having those conversations? Like, do we continue to pour money into something?
You know, Tina, what would be interesting on those lines, just interesting. If you did a 10-year, 20-year, 25-year, here's how much we've paid. You know, going back for renovating, fixing, that would be interesting to see.
Yeah, I don't.
And maybe an
want to
average per
lose
year.
the Georgetown Library grant, that's not what I'm saying. Definitely don't wanna do that. But the location, I know it's a historic building, but how could we get creative on how we can get some of this paid for under a historical grant or something? Because I don't see this going away. I see more and more issues with the building.
You know, what percentage of that fund or expenses is going to Georgetown? from, you know, a total
Mhm.
library. I mean, I don't,
I think that's definitely what I am.
so since I've been, how long have we been on the board?
Longer than you, by about 2
Seven,
months.
17 years, 18 years, 20 years, Tina. And I, just me personally, I've never felt like we dumped a ton of money, and Barb too. We're like, we've dumped an excess amount of money into Georgia. It's all the normal routine
It's like
maintenance
having an
crap
old
that
house.
comes up.
Well,
Yeah,
it is, that's
is.
exactly it. It's an old house that's had additions put onto it. And, you know, there are just things that you are constantly having to keep up. Whereas we're sitting in a building that is less than 30 years old. So it doesn't have those issues, but we've already replaced the roof on this building.
Yeah.
So that was before your time, so you didn't go through that one and see the amount of money there. You know, so every building has had, and we're being told that it's time for Sardinia and Fayetteville to be looking at roofs. So, I don't know that it is gonna be eligible for historic building thing. I think we have an old building, and we have, you know, we would have to find other places to get
And I
money.
and we just
In-
budget
in-
for it every year,
Well,
right?
I try to keep putting money into our capital improvements fund, knowing that none of these buildings are gonna get any younger, right?
Right.
None of us are getting any younger. But, yeah, it's one of those things that it's going to take a windfall of some kind to be able to support all of these aging buildings looking into the future. And unfortunately, one of the things that funding from the federal level has not done in probably 40 years is they have not had construction money. And I think this is one of the reasons that the GAO is doing its survey of library and museum facilities to see if it's time to switch that library services and technology granting and put some of it back into facilities issues. Yeah, I mean, schools have had more, you know, building money than libraries, and in Ohio anyway, have ever had. And so you may not hear as much about schools, but, you know, they're doing the same things. They're having to put money into buildings, roofs there. Is that a, no, never?
No, like we replaced an entire roof and it leaks all over the place still. We just got a new HVAC that every single room is at a different temperature and it's hot and it's cold and it's hot and it's cold. It's everything we put money into is just garbage.
But it's a legitimate
For
concern,
us, like-
and I hope that there will be something that comes out of the strategic planning that will give us some direction for it. You know, one of the things that, you know, I hear a lot of just, oh, we should do this, and we should do this, and we should do this, and I'm going, okay, staff, what are you gonna stop doing now?
Right.
In order to turn our attention to it, and what are you gonna have me stop doing?
You're always gonna have
Yeah.
a cost benefit analysis. You're gonna have to do that,
Yeah.
right? There's
Yeah.
opportunity cost.
Yeah.
And so I just wanna be vocal, like, this is, since I've been here 3 years, like, every other month is something going on. And so my alarm starts ticking, like, okay, this is a trend, and what is the cost benefit of that? Do we continue to put money in that, or do we focus those funds elsewhere so we can get maximum community impact, right? We don't do it in dollars, we get it in outreach. And so I don't have an answer, but just from my financial point of view, I'm like, that's a lot of money.
Well, that's a good topic for the board retreat.
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
I mean, a very good topic for the board retreat. Okay, looks like, oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was gonna just ask, we didn't have a motion, okay.
March started to.
We need a
I
second.
think I made a
Yeah.
motion, but we don't have a second.
We have a second.
I will second.
Mark,
Yes,
Barb,
Yes.
Tracy?
Yes.
Tina?
Yes.
Tabitha?
Yes.
April? Yeah. Amber?
Yes.
And we'll do an update in March about, and
Mhm.
what our choices are, yeah.
okay. Number 10,
Sorry,
yes.
did you say, is that 15 coming out of our general fund?
No, that would be money that's coming out of the capital.
Okay,
improvement
okay.
fund.
I thought you said that was something. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, number 10, motion to enter executive session to consider the employment of public employees. And we do have a short blue list.
Yeah. Is there anything that managers want to say before we, officially go into executive session? Nothing from Wes? Where what? Where am I going? I'm going to. Um. My husband and I are taking our mothers
Just give me the green light and we'll move into executive.
Okay,